Okay, hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard. Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome aboard. Welcome to GoRio Cruises. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you for the thumbs up in the front. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to cover 2.5 miles of downtown San Antonio. This ride will take 35 minutes. We will be coming back to this same location. Our location here is called the Aztec, El Azteca, the Aztec. So we'll be back here. We'll be off-boarding on the left side of the river. Now, throughout the ride, we will be coming close to many things along the way. So that's why I'm going to mention out just a few safety rules, okay? It's for our safety. For those especially out on the railing, be careful with your hands, elbows, and arms. Have them safely on the wooden railing. You'll be just fine. Around a loved one is not a bad idea. No smoking or vaping at any time of the tour. Now, we don't have a very packed boat, a full boat, so you may want to move from one side to the other, and that's okay, as long as you don't run into one of the 26 bridges that we have out here. So take a quick look before you decide to move or stand, and make sure you don't run into one of these bridges. I clear most of them, but that doesn't mean you do. You want to be careful with that. Okay, now ladies and gentlemen, bienvenidos. Welcome to San Antonio. My name's Ricardo. Lived here all my life, guys. Let me share with you the experience of growing up here in this beautiful city, the 7th largest city in the country. Here you'll find English, Spanish, and German to be the most commonly spoken languages. In German, you say willkommen. In the east of Texas, you might hear someone say bienvenue. And here, of course, more familiar, bienvenido, welcome. Now, I have a mission here. I'm not here working, I'm on a mission. I've made it my personal purpose that everyone that comes on the boat walks out saying, I did not know that. Now that's my purpose for today, and I hope I accomplish this goal. Okay, let's get started, everyone. I'm sure many of you already have questions in your mind. You're probably thinking, let me see if I can read your mind. You're thinking, is this river natural? Is it man-made? I wonder how deep it is. How many people fall in? Is he single? Well, I'm going to answer all these questions, okay? This river is not man-made, it is natural, all natural. It started flowing out of the Edwards Aquifer 11,000 years ago. You guys like history? I'm glad you do, because that's what you're going to get. Whether you like it or not, I love history, and that's exactly what I'm going to be talking about, history. Now, this river starts 2.5 miles north of the city. It's fed by the Edwards Aquifer, in a particular spot we call El Ojo Azul, the blue eye. The water comes out of the ground, it starts sloping down quickly and all the way to the Gulf of Mexico, north of Corpus Christi, at the San Antonio Bay. That's where it ends. This is a real river. No deeper than 10 feet at any point of the 240 miles of the length of the river. So it's a fast flowing. Of course, we slowed it down here in the downtown area. You know how you say goodbye in German? You say Auf Wiedersehen. You also say adios. Well, there's many ways you can say it. You see, San Antonio is a city where you're going to find people from Europe and many parts of Europe here. It's very common. This is a European establishment. This city was founded on June 13, 1691. I'll explain that a little bit later in more detail. So the river is about 4 and 5 feet deep with a natural rock bottom. And we are in the natural course of it, or natural section of the flowing river. So we are in its natural course. This is Navarro Street Bridge. When we go under this bridge, if you look to the left, this is the very first site on the tour. You're going to see the Nix Hospital. It opened in 1930. The Nix Hospital opened with air conditioning. You might be thinking, what's the big deal? Every building has air conditioning today. Well, that's today. We expect this out of every building today, but this is 1930, everyone. One of the first hospitals with air conditioning in the world. Carol Burnett was born here. Take a look at the angle and follow it up, and give you an optical illusion as well. Carol Burnett was born here. Oliver North, Henry C. Sneddles, our former mayor. Today is going to become a hotel, an apartment complex. Half and half. Now, if you're not quite convinced that this is a natural river, I do have a way to prove it. Would you like some more proof?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you some more proof. Let's look at the trees beside us. Let's look at this one here on the left, right beside us right now. How old do you think this tree is?
your age, I guess.
Well, a lot older than us, that's for sure. But this tree is more leaning on the 600 years old, 600 to 700 year old tree. A clear indication that we are on a natural river, not a man-made one. Nobody was out here 700 years ago to plant it. So it's growing naturally on a natural river. In the water, we have catfish, we have perch, several types, carp, snakes, turtles, ducks, hawks, pigeons, raccoons. I'm describing a real river. We even have a fish in the water that could be considered a dinosaur. It's been around a very long time. Have you ever heard of an alligator gar? Let me describe this fish to you if you've never seen one or heard of it. This fish can grow up to 8 feet in length, weigh over 300 pounds. It has a mouthful of teeth like an alligator. It can breathe water, it can breathe air, and it's been on the planet for over 200 million years. Wow. Hey guys, you know how many people are on the planet today? We already reached the 8 billion mark. I want to say congratulations to everyone. We've survived. We are the direct descendants, every one of us, without an exception, of survivors. That's right. You know what humans do to survive? Migrate. You can call it however you want, but people have been migrating around the world for millennia. And many people are migrating today to Texas. Texas has about 30 million people living citizens Texas, but we're receiving about 1,000 people a day moving from elsewhere. I call it survival. You can call it whatever you choose. Hey guys, here we are in what we call the South Bank, where you're going to find restaurants, a good place to relax, enjoy food, drinks, live music. In case you forgot medication, you don't want to compromise with medication. It's important that you go over to CVS here on the Riverwalk and fix it.
They're coming right up the river.
That's also a convenience store. Here on the right-hand side.
What?
Now, let me remind everyone, today is a very unique day. We're very fortunate to have this day cloudy and no sun. We have over 300 days of sunshine here in San Antonio. Now, here on the right-hand side, you can also buy a cap, a hat, or some souvenirs to take back home to friends and family. If you're wondering, can you have yourself a nice cold beer on the Riverwalk? Thank you, thank you. I believe you can. Now this is where you're going to find restaurants. Many restaurants. You're thinking, okay, give me the best restaurant. Well, that'd be very unfair. If you like very spicy food and a lot of pepper in it, then you're going to like what I like. But if you don't, then you're going to not like it. So the best thing I can do is, well, refer you to the menus on the walk. You see, every restaurant will have a menu out there for you, so make things easier to decide. And then there may be a host or a hostess there too. That'll help you even further. Now here on the right-hand side, this building is called the Clifford Building. In 1890 it was completed. But it's also, this corner office building here was to the architect of the river, Robert H. Hugman. You want to see the bust here on the right? Robert Hugman. Hola. Buenos dias. Robert Hugman, the father of the river. Now this walkway was built during a very difficult moment in history. 1938, completed in 1940. By 1941, the United States engaged in one of the most dreadful events in humanity, World War II. Not too many people are aware. Many people are aware that this is a military city, but not too many are aware that San Antonio was the key city for the mission of World War II. It was here that tens of thousands of men and women are converted into the city and then shipped out to the mission of war, World II. When the GIs come back home from this mission, Casa Rio had already opened its doors to the banks to invite men and women to come out here and enjoy hot sauce and chips, mariachi music, cold cerveza, and a nice, comfortable seat along the banks. This is where the Riverboat Tour concept was born in 1946. Initially, it started with gondolas, just like the ones in Xochimilco. If you're not familiar, these are like the Venice-like with the pole. And then it evolved into gasoline, and then propane. And you know what it's giving us our power today? Batteries. What? Batteries. 12 batteries underneath the floor. We plug the boat in, charge it 6 to 8 hours. It's good for about 8 to 10 hours the next day. Now, is this method perfect? I'm sure it is not. You know how I know that? Because we built it. We don't build anything perfect, guys. I think we already know that for sure. But I hope we're headed in the right direction. That's all I can hope for. Now, did I mention we were going to go on a historical tour? Okay. I hope you guys don't mind. We're going to go way back in history. For that, I'm going to point out these rocks here. You notice the rocks that we have here on the wall? Does anyone know what kind of rock this is? Well, if you're thinking limestone, that's correct. Now, let me tell you, these are not rocks at all. They're actually fossils. Let's go back in history, guys. Let's look at the United States 150 million years ago. Imagine the Gulf of Mexico going all the way into Canada. The world was all tropical. In this shallow, warm water ocean lived trillions of little microorganisms that had a shell body. When the Rocky Mountains were being created by the colliding of the continental plates, the Pacific came onto the North American plate and created the Rocky Mountains 70 million years ago. This settlement was the ocean floor, and it hardened to create this rock that we call limestone today. They're fossilized shells. Now, you want to bring these creatures back to life? It's a very simple method you can use. We did it when we were in school. I want to suggest you do this if you want to bring 150 million year old creatures back to life. Get a blank piece of paper, a colored chalk, whichever favorite color, and then rub it on the paper, and you'll see the little creatures coming back. You can even see them playing with each other. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned, San Antonio is the 7th largest city in the country. Number 7. Número 7. 7. 2.5 million people live here in San Antonio. But that number is also growing.
Are y'all from Denver?
Colorado Springs.
Okay, I want to point out this young lady here right in front of us.
They're about half that.
You notice the star in her fingertips, and it has a hole in it. She is believed to live about 12,000 years ago. Now, her finding of her came also with other shells that had many holes in them.
Hey, there's this.
When they researched her equipment, they realized that she was an astronomer. Those shells were to stargaze at the heavens. So that means they were an agricultural community, because that's possibly why she wanted to know where the stars were laying at night. Because that gave them an opportunity to know when it was time to harvest, when it was rainy season, and when times will change. What's really amazing about her finding is that she lived 12,000 years ago, and her instruments were well correlating to the stars, meaning very accurate.
I hope I'm acting some not swim block. I said I hope I'm acting.
Okay, now this part of the river is man-made.
It's a little chilly.
It's around 4 feet deep with a concrete bottom. We are coming into River Center Mall. In River Center, you're going to find IMAX Theater, Legoland, Sea Life. In front of the mall, you'll find double-decker buses to tour street level, horse carriages, and also San Antonio de Valero, which is better known as the Alamo. Hey guys, have you ever wondered what's the difference between a river and a creek? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Next time you're driving down the road and you see many signs that say creek, and then you'll see one that says river, it means this. A river needs 3 main principles. If not, it's not a river. It has to have a natural source where it's born, glacier or a spring, continuously flow, and also must end in the ocean. Let's take, for example, the Mississippi. Are you guys familiar with the Mississippi River? We all are, right? The biggest river in the United States? Well, it starts in Minnesota. It's only 4 feet wide, 2 feet deep, and it ends at the Gulf of Mexico. So that's a river, the biggest in the country. But this one is also a river. It's 240 miles in length, and it ends at the Gulf of Mexico, but it has a 3 main principles.
Are we playing chicken?
What's a creek? A creek is water coming from a high level to a lower level. Only when it rains does it flow like a river. As soon as that stops, it'll dry up. It'll end up in a pond or a lake. Let me tell you what a lake and a pond mean. Whenever you're driving down the road, you see many creeks, you're going to have a pond nearby, or even more, a lake. But a pond is a body of water that can dry up, and it's shallow enough to continue growing vegetation at the bottom. A lake is when the water is permanent and sunlight cannot reach the bottom. Keep that in mind next time you're driving down the road. When we pass this footbridge, everyone, if you look on the right-hand side, if you're wondering, when and why did they call this city San Antonio? Well, it was on June 13, 1691. That's over 300 years ago. You know, San Antonio is among the earliest European municipalities in the United States. There's only 2 other municipalities older than San Antonio in all of the United States. In case you didn't know, they're not in Texas. The Spanish arrived in Florida in 1512, permanently settled San Agustin, Florida in 1565, permanently with a government system. And then 1569, Pensacola, San Antonio 1691, New Orleans in 1718. I know, we've been led to believe that it began up north in Boston, right, with the Mayflower? But just think that over 180 years earlier, the Spanish were already here. By the time the Mayflower got here, they had grandkids already. Take a look back here. In and over there, that's San Antonio, where we get the name of our city. Now, we are in Texas. What a fine, beautiful state. You know, Texas is the biggest in the lower 48 states. Primarily Mexican-American. Let me tell you who we are. Mexican people are a mixture of either Spanish, Portuguese with native people. But in the 1800s, we had a big group of German, Irish, and Polish move here. But you know, 90% of them become Mexican citizens here in Texas. That's why in Texas it's very common to run into a blue-eyed Spanish-speaking person and you say, hey buddy, what's your nationality really? And they might answer in Spanish, yo soy mexicano. Really? Yes, their grandparents were Mexican citizens in Texas. That's where you get the twist, the Tex-Mex. If you bring a Polish accordion, a Spanish guitar, and a Mexican trumpet, well, you're going to have Tejano music. Very unique to this region here. Now, you want Texas on your side. You know why? Texas has 268,695 square miles. Let me give you a better idea of how vast this is. Bigger than any Western European country. Not only that, Texas is the 9th strongest economy in the entire world. The 5th largest producer of oil in the world. Wait a minute. Doesn't it sound like Iraq? Yes, because Texas is more like Iraq than any other state in the country. And where else can you find a desert, a rattlesnake, and blazing heat? And then go to the complete opposite, humid, hot, swamp, and alligators. The same state. Valleys, mountains, grasslands, prairies, and forests. You'll find whiskey, tequila, all in the same place. Tacos, chili. When we pass the footbridge in front of us, everyone, this is Casa Rio. Casa Rio. Casa means house, right? Rio means river. This is the very first restaurant to open in 1946 to the banks of the river. The building was built in 1777. It was a very predominant family that lived here, a Spanish family. When we pass the bridge, we're going to take a left-hand turn now. We're going to take a left. We're going to be in the natural flow of the river. One more time. Okay, now I mentioned that San Antonio is military Air Force hub of the country, right? Are you aware that the very first military plane was flown, American military plane was flown here in San Antonio in 1910? We all know who was the first man to set foot on the moon, right? not Neil Diamond, Neil Armstrong, right? Well, do you know that the very first astronaut was born in San Antonio? You may be thinking, wait a minute, that's not very accurate. If you want to consider Sam the monkey to be the first mammal to go into outer space, born here in 1957 and into outer space in 1959. He was mammal number 2, número 2. The first mammal was Laika from Russia, but never came back. Now, on the other hand, Sam goes into space, comes back nice and healthy, and has about 60 children, which the military is still looking after his kids. And he made it back, teaching us or allowing us to learn that we can actually go into outer space. It wouldn't damage our molecular structure. It was a very important mission. Let's take a look here to the left-hand side. This is the Hilton Palacio del Rio. I'm going to say that in German. The Hilton Palacio del Rio. I can say it in many different languages if you need me to. Now, this hotel can be found in every front page newspaper around the world, major cities. Why? The tallest? No, 21 stories. The biggest? Not that either. 496. It is the fastest hotel built in the world. You can look it up in YouTube. The fastest hotel was built in 7.5 months. This building right here. But you know what's unique of that construction? It wasn't even built here. Where was it built? 7 miles away from here. I'll explain. As these rooms moved along slowly, the building was being laid out here and then the center shop as well, and all 500 rooms were being sent on separate assembly lines. As these rooms moved along slowly, they were being furnished with everything in them, to the last detail. Brought over with military flatbed trucks, 2 giant cranes would grab the rooms, stack them one over the other like Lego blocks. 7.5 months. You know, I've been building a doghouse, and I've gone past 7.5 months, and my dog doesn't even like his house. Hey guys, take a look here to the right. You'll never guess what this is here on the right. That's a church. All right, I'm checking on the crowd. You're paying attention to me. That's not a church. Thank you for listening to me. That's the biggest margarita tank in Texas. Now he believes me. Hey guys, so we're coming into the Arneson. To the left is grass seating. It can sit around about 500 people. If you sit them well, if you sit them right and everybody cooperates, you'll sit more. Now here on the right-hand side, here you have a stage.
Oh,
right above the stage, you have 5 bells. These bells do not represent the Taco Bells in San Antonio. Those bells represent missions. Let me name them for you. San Antonio de Valero, better known as the Alamo. Concepcion, San Juan, San Jose, Espada. Built from the 1700s to the 1800s, all along the San Antonio River and connected by aqueducts. They're called acequias in Spanish. Hey, I have a question for you. What do you call a cow in Spanish?
Vaca.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I'm glad that you know that. Vaca with a V. She could have said carne guisada and she would have gotten away with that too. Technically, it's carne guisada as well. Vaca. Now, a cow handler is called a vaquero. Would you like to see a vaquero in action? Let's look here to the right-hand side. We have a vaquero, a horse, and 3 longhorn cattle. Hey guys, let me share some interesting facts with you, okay? This is where we're going to learn some history. Did you know that before the year 1690, you couldn't find a horse, a cow, or even a chicken in all of Texas? Have you ever heard this before?
What's a horse doing?
Yes? No? I'm glad you're on the phone. You see, I'm going to give you some history here. Before 1690, guys, there was no farm animal in Texas. Why not? They didn't live here. History has taught me that all farm animals are introduced to the Americas by the Spanish. In 1492, the Caribbean in Veracruz, Mexico. In 1512, into Florida. And in 1690, into Texas. That's right, guys. I don't mean to disappoint anyone. The Texas Longhorn is not from Texas. It's from Europe. All right, I have another question. See if you can answer this one. We're going to learn some more, if you like this sort of stuff. Which is the only farm animal from the Americas mass-produced and eaten worldwide today? She said goat. Goats are from the Middle East. Nice try. Thank you. I'm glad you gave it a try.
I don't know this answer.
You nailed it, ma'am. In the very front, on the left corner, she said turkey. I'm glad you know that, but
Good
it
job.
is true.
I
It
didn't
is
know that.
turkey. When the
And I'm an ag
Spanish,
teacher.
let me tell you why we call the bird turkey. Do you know why we call turkey turkey? When the Spanish sailed across the Atlantic, they bring with them all farm animals that we know. But they noticed that the natives had a pheasant bird that had potential for domestication, but it was wild. It could still fly and never mass produced by the natives. If this bird flew out of your hands and go into the woods, you'll never see it again. Well, guess what? The Spanish were interested in mass production. They gather some of these birds, take them back to Europe, and then to a further place called Turkey. Have you ever heard of Turkey? Turkey is a country. This is Mesopotamia, everyone. It's actually several countries, 5 of them. Turkey, Iran, Iraq, Jordan, Syria. This is the cradle of civilization. This is where humans become modern. This is where we start keeping a record of time, music, literature, art at a modern scale. And guess what? The Spanish knew this, so they gathered these birds, take them back to Europe and then to Turkey, and asked the Turcos, could you fix this bird for us? What would you like? We like this bird to be heavy, flightless, and easy to mass produce in a farm, and friendly enough that I can call it like a puppy. And they got working on it, and a few generations later, that is what they had. A very heavy bird. They bring it back to the Americas and run into the English. Remember, the Spanish were here almost 200 years before the English. They tell the English, we've been calling this bird Turcos, because it was in Turkey they made the modification. We can't pronounce that, Turkey. Well, what do you call that country? We call it Turkey. We'll name the bird Turkey. Did you know that chicken is from Asia? It is the most abundant bird in the world. Turkey is from the Americas, the second most abundant bird in the world. The third most abundant bird in the world is originally from Mesopotamia, from Turkey, but it has a French name. Have you ever heard of Pigeons? Pigeons are pigeons. Did you know pigeons are humans' first cell phone? 8,000 years ago in Mesopotamia, they start using them to communicate long distances, everyone. And around the time Jesus was being born, guess what? They taught the Spanish how to use them as cell phones. And guess what the Spanish did? They go AT&T. They go globally all around the world, conquering new territory, but always staying in touch via pigeon back home. And then there's reports that when times were rough, they ate their cell phones to survive. Today we get stimulus checks, everyone. We don't have to eat our pigeon. We were close. We were very close. Hey guys, let's come back to the future. How about 1929? I have a building, my favorite building in all of San Antonio. I love this building. It just recently been bought by Red McComb. Unfortunately, at the age of 97, he passed away. But let's look over to the back. And then this is my future home. This is where I'm going to be living pretty soon, in about 6 more years. Because I have to be 55. I'm 49. So I have to be 55 to live here. And we can all afford it because Mr. McComb, the owner, the present owner now, he made it possible. Anyone in San Antonio that's willing to live here will be able to afford it. It'll be based on your income. 30% of what you earn is what they're going to charge you. There won't be a set. If you make more than I do, you'll pay a little bit more. But we're all going to pay 30%. So that's a pretty brilliant idea. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. That's where I'm going to live. And that was built in 1929. It cost $3 million to build. It was the tallest building in the South, and it was very expensive construction. Unfortunately, the owners that built it never did anything with it, unfortunately. They lose it to the construction company, and the stock market crashed. Let's look at the red building in front of us. That's Fair County Courthouse. Often mistaken for a church. In the front, it does not look like a courthouse. It looks like a cathedral. That's the last place you want to run inside and start confessing. That's still a courthouse. They're not in the forgiving business. Now, you know what's one of the most asked questions I get out here? Does this city have a mosquito problem? Have you thought about this? Let's look at the conditions. What do mosquitoes need? Slow running water. Check. Plenty of bodies to draw blood from. Check there too. Warm weather. Check, check, check. This is mosquito-topia, if you ask me. Why don't we have that many? And I'll tell you why. No chemicals involved. It is because we have what eats them. For the last 40 million years, we are visited by bats. Not 1 million, but in the millions. Meaning 27 million bats this summer are expected to come in from the deserts of Mexico and stay within central Texas. And you know what? good news, they're hungry. The bats that come here do one thing and very well. They eat mosquitoes. It's estimated that 3 million bats have to eat 1 ton in mosquitoes in order to survive one night. Imagine 27 million. Okay, here's a question you probably have in your mind, and I'd like to see if I can read your mind. Does this river ever flood the city? The answer is C. Yeah, it's flooded many, many times. But in 1997, San Antonio said, no mas, we need to fix this. And guess what they did? A tunnel system. Look at my arm back here. My arm is flat. San Antonio is not flat, it's only sloped. This is the good news. The fingertips represents where it starts 2.5 miles north. Water comes out from an Ojo Azul, it starts sloping down. In 4 miles, it drops 35 feet. These are the buildings. Well, 3 tunnels were drilled down, like this. 3 tunnels were drilled down, and then 1 north to south, allowing water to flush out of the city without using anything mechanical, all relying on gravity. You know that gravity is the most reliable force we know in the universe? Some can question that with something crazy like quantum physics, but we're not going to go into that. Now here to the left-hand side, my favorite tree. Over 600 years old. Just to think that when Christopher Columbus landed in the sandy beaches of Cuba, that was there already, and it was growing. Okay, now ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to the end of our tour. This has nothing to do with my company. This is a personal thought that I'd like to share with everyone. I have found a mission in life, and I'm glad I have this opportunity. That's why I'd like to share a personal thought. I believe that the most valuable thing we have, if you want to make a better world like I do, because I want a better world, I've realized that it's one boat, we're all in it, and that's the only one we have. The only way we're going to achieve this collectively is that we educate ourselves with history. History will give us an opportunity to not make the same mistakes we have done in the past and make a better future for ourselves. It's our only life jacket, everyone. There's nothing else. Education is going to be our life jacket for the future. So with that note, I want to say I want to wish everyone a blessed day today. If you need directions anywhere in the city, let me know. I'll be glad to help you. I want to help. Now, our company, GoRio Cruises, for a job well done, does allow us captains to receive grad tour tickets. For a job well done, of course. I hope I've done that for you today. Muchísimas gracias. I'll be just saying thank you, everyone.
I love the way everybody's
We also
going.
have Cash App if you prefer that. We're going to be docking here on the left-hand side. Please allow me a brief moment to tie the boat down safely.
Okay. Anything y'all want to share before I turn off the video?
It's windy.
Are you cold?
A little chilly. At the front of the boat, yeah.
Hey, you know I've got a shirt.
I dressed for yesterday.
If you enjoyed this episode, consider subscribing so you can join us on the rest of our crazy adventures. Remember to get out and find your own adventure, because even bad adventures make great stories. Thanks for tagging along with us today, guys.